Welcome to the Blooming Roses podcast, where we share stories of growth while blooming in adversity. Hosted by Ashley Wilson, this podcast is a Roseraie Media production. For more updates and content, follow the Blooming Roses podcast on Instagram at Blooming Roses Podcast and Roseraie Media on Instagram and YouTube. Listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and share with a friend. Hi guys, and welcome back to the Blooming Roses podcast. My name is Ashley, and welcome if you're new, welcome back if you're returning. And this is where we share stories of growth while blooming in adversity. It has been a little bit since I've talked to you guys, and genuinely, I wasn't feeling 100% for a couple weeks, and so I had to recover and get better and kind of refigure out the schedule. But there have been so many things happening in my life right now, so many updates to share, and a lot of these updates I'm going to split up into different episodes because it's just so much to unpack. But grab a blanket, curl up, or if you're listening to this while you're driving or doing chores or whatever, enjoy. If you guys want to watch this episode, you can watch on YouTube and also on Spotify. You can listen to this episode on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and like I said, you can watch on YouTube. And I'm just going to curl up here on my bed because it's comfy, and I have my Blooming Roses podcast blanket. This is literally like one of my favorite blankets. But if you guys are watching, I'm just chilling on the bed with my blanket, computer and everything in front of me. But for those who are listening, hello. But, oh my goodness, where do I even begin? I guess a few life updates. I expand more on these life updates on this week's YouTube video on my personal channel, Ashley's Roses. So if you want to know like what's going on in my personal life and things like that, you can go follow me there. But life updates wise, and I'll have a vlog there. Let's see. Honestly, I've just kind of been living in the moment, being present, recovering from a few things, working. But I think the biggest thing that has happened lately was I went to a Kelsea Ballerini concert. It was a Christmas present from my boyfriend, and I've always wanted to see Kelsea Ballerini live, and I've been a fan of hers since the beginning. And this is like my first big like stadium arena concert that I've ever been to. And I always wanted Kelsea Ballerini to be the first person that I see like when I'd start doing stadium concerts and such. I've gone to Broadway shows, but never like a full-blown stadium arena concert. And it was one of the best nights ever. So if you guys want to see vlog footage of that or hear me talk more about that, I'll be talking more about that on my personal channel, Ashley's Roses. So I'll link all that below in the description box below in the bio of this episode. But if you guys are watching online, you'll see I'm wearing my Kelsea Ballerini sweatshirt that I got there, and I'm obsessed. It was the best night ever. So that's the biggest thing. Next thing, I attended a film festival and I got to see the premiere of a documentary that my friend had been making for many years, and talks about her life and the importance of organ donation. And I'm actually in the documentary for like a couple seconds, but it's called Paddle Out, and I was able to go and see the premiere of it at the Santa Barbara International Film Festival, which was incredible. And it was my first time seeing the final product of the film. I'd seen the rough cuts, but this is the first time seeing the overall film. And it was incredibly beautiful. The reason why I'm not really expanding on that is because I want to have an episode that's completely focused on that. So I'll be doing that at that time. Next couple big updates is my film that I've been working on for the past like since September of 2023, is going to be premiering in May of this year, May 16th, at Maya Cinemas in Salinas, California. And tickets just went on sale the other day, so I'll have tickets available. But there's a pre-party where you can purchase merchandise, signed copies of books, apparel, a special edition leather bookmark that's made by the small business Frosty Spur, and also artwork from the artists who did the artwork in Beauty Grown from Thorns, apparel for my company, Roseraie Media, a whole bunch of merchandise and apparel that's going to be sold. And then people also have the chance to see I Choose You if they hadn't been able to see it the first time it was released, behind the scenes footage, and also the film. So, and there's going to be a Q&A talk back with me, and it's going to be exciting. This is the first big event for my company, Roseraie Media. So tickets are on sale now, and we only have a certain amount of seats. So once we're sold out, we're sold out. But I'll have the link to that in the description box below if you're at all interested. But more is to come, so I'm very excited about that. And yeah, this is exciting. Never held an event like this before, but I'm just excited that people get to finally see the film that I've been working on for so long. I'm so thankful for everyone who has had the chance to work on it, because without them, this film would not be a thing. So, very thankful for that. Then the next big thing is my second poetry book, I Caught The Bouquet, was released on February 14th. And if you guys are watching online, you're able to see it. Currently holding it up. But if you guys are listening, you can go and check it out on my Instagram, also on the podcast Instagram. So my Instagram is ashleys.roses. Podcast Instagram is Blooming Roses Podcast. And then the company Instagram is Roseraie Media on Instagram. But you can also buy this on Amazon. And it is called I Caught The Bouquet. So I wanted to dedicate this episode to this book and talk a little bit of the why, the what, and the how. So if you guys have been following me for a bit, and the book that created my short film, Beauty Grown from Thorns, that poetry book was released January 27th of 2023. And I've had many different amazing opportunities with this book signings, been able to talk about and advocate for cystic fibrosis, and create a short film. This poetry book, Beauty Grown from Thorns, is a little bit darker from what people would expect of my work, but I wanted people to see that you can overcome different adversity, and that there is hope, there is light at the end. But I think for me specifically, with writing this book, people see a lot of a positive side of me, the positive perspective, which is good. It's good to see that, but also you have to go through the thorns to then have the beauty. Like it says on the back of my book, which is part of one of the poems, but without the thorns, there would be no growth for beauty. So the poems of Beauty Grown from Thorns range all the way back to about 2015, of different hardships, challenging moments, healing moments, and then overcoming it. So it's definitely a roller coaster. And I wanted people to see that side of me, because I wouldn't be who I am without those hardships and without those difficulties. And a lot of it in this book correlates to cystic fibrosis. And it's related to mental health, difficult situations, relationships, friendships, everything. And there were a couple hints to love poems, just a couple, in Beauty Grown from Thorns. But when I did my book signing last year, forgot when that was specifically, but last year, there are a few people who are requesting if I would ever consider doing love poems for a poetry book. And to be completely honest, you guys, love poems, like for me to read poetry, love poems are not my go-to. They are not my go-to. My go-to is emotional hardships, adversity that's faced, challenging ones. Those poems, I feel like there's a lot of depth, and those intrigue me the most. My favorite type of movies are drama, and favorite books, like, I like the different emotional aspects. But with, to be completely honest, you guys, my favorite poet is Edgar Allan Poe. So, that says a lot right there. But, my favorite first poet is Edgar Allan Poe. So I don't read a lot of love poems. If I do, it's very rare. But I did know that having a book of hardships and such, let's share a little bit of that beauty. And at that time, I was actually quietly working on a love poetry book. And even though in my book, Beauty Grown from Thorns, I mentioned that if my poems were about anyone or someone or something like that, I would never admit who those poems were about specifically. Because I think poetry is an art form, and sometimes not giving all the answers is the best thing, because then it's something that people can relate to. And at the end of the day, poetry is art, and I didn't want to distract from that. But the poems that did relate to love or who the person was about, I collected those in Beauty Grown from Thorns, and then also wrote additional love poems to create I Caught The Bouquet, which talks about the entire love story of my boyfriend and I. From the moment of I had a crush on him, to a moment of I don't know, should I like this boy, to then falling in love with him and the ups and downs with that, but then learning what it means to be in a relationship and growing with each other. So then I wrote I Caught the Bouquet. So let's see here. I feel a little awkward talking about this. I don't really talk about personal stuff. I don't really talk about love. It's a little, if you're in my inner circle, I'll talk about it. If you're not, then I probably won't really talk about it. But writing this book was one of the easiest things to write, and it was a lot of fun to write. And no one knew I was working on it, not even my boyfriend. But before it was released, I showed it to him, and he loved it. But no one knew exactly what I was working on. They all knew I was writing something, but they didn't know what. The thing is, when I'm working on one project, most of the times behind the scenes of that project, I'm working on another. I tend to do back to back. But I thought I would read the author's note. I have a note in here that's called Before the Bouquet, and then an author's note. So I thought I would read those because that kind of expands on I Caught the Bouquet and kind of shares a little bit more in depth of what this book is about. Before the Bouquet. Before the flowers were gathered from the bouquet. Before the bouquet. Before the flowers were gathered and the bouquet was made, beauty grown from thorns rose to bloom. I shared my journey of living with cystic fibrosis, loss, heartache, and finding strength through my faith. It is expressed in the author's note of Beauty Grown from Thorns. As much as I am aware that readers from my private life will want to examine each poem to determine what inspired it, that I will not disclose. Full disclosure is not the purpose of this book. I have always seen poetry as a creative form of art that can be left to the interpretation of readers, or some may even find relatability in the words. Readers expressed the poems in Beauty Grown from Thorns were moving, heartfelt, and filled with emotion. In anticipation of what to expect in the next poetry book, requests were made for more love poems. Selected poems from Beauty Grown from Thorns have been included in I Caught the Bouquet, to share my journey with love and who the muse of some of my writings have been about. Author's note. Kelsey Ballerini once sang, "I think Cupid is stupid, and violets are purple, not blue. I hate catching bouquets, the honeymoon phase. I hate love songs, but I love you." Love poems or love songs sometimes seemed overrated to me. As a reader, I would connect with books or poems that were filled with emotion and relatability. I knew what it felt like for family and friends to love me, but learning how to love and receive the love of someone who chose me has been a beautiful journey. Following my first poetry book, Beauty Grown from Thorns, I had been quietly working on my second book that would share excerpts from my heart in a beautiful and vulnerable way. Sharing the story of falling in love with my best friend has been the easiest and biggest blessing to write. So I thought I would read the opening poem of this book and then pick a second poem to read just for you guys. I've only read the first poem to YouTube and Instagram, but no one has gotten the second poem. So I'll read the opening and then a second poem. Catch the Bouquet. I've never cared for catching a bouquet or calling all the single ladies to the front. To toss a bundle of flowers to a bunch of girls to then hint, "You're next to get hitched," blinded me in an unwanted spotlight I tried my best to avoid. Petals and leaves fly up into the air while girls fight for a bunch of flowers. Chill. It's not that big of a deal. At least to me it's not. A girl will squeal with delight running to the bride with a handful of flowers, while the other girls with no ring in sight walk out of the spotlight. Catch the bouquet, they say. It'll be fun, they say. I'd rather not. A theory about love. There's a theory that goes around suggesting people fall in love not once, not twice, but 3 times. Each love is a lesson that can be viewed as a blessing or a curse. Love and loss, each one came at a cost to blossom and grow. There's a theory that goes around suggesting people fall in love not once, not twice, but 3 times. Thank you to each love as I turn the page to the next chapter of my life. So this is a very vulnerable piece, but I'm very proud of this book and very thankful for it. And if you guys are interested in it, it is available on Amazon. Currently, there's only the paperback version. I'm working on getting a Kindle version set up, but I Caught the Bouquet, available on Amazon. Soon, other stores, but right now it's just Amazon. But I'm so excited that's out. So I now have Beauty Grown from Thorns and I Caught the Bouquet. Am I working on the 3rd book right now? Yes, I am, but I can't talk about that right now. But that is it for today's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will talk to you guys in the next one. Bye! For more updates and content, follow the Blooming Roses podcast on Instagram at Blooming Roses Podcast and Roseraie Media on Instagram and YouTube. Listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and share with a friend.